Hi there, I'm Noel Plum, and you are watching The Atheist Edge. At least you will be in a minute.
This, I think this is more for me than you, but thank you so much for coming on.
Sure.
I got to get some things off my chest. And if you'll indulge me, just give me a couple seconds to just tell everyone why I wanted you to come on the show. I want to tell everyone, I want to, I'm a man of honor. And when I feel like I've done wrong, I can't live with myself unless I've rectified it. I prepared some notes here. You don't have to share opinions. You don't have to have the same opinion to remain amicable. You don't have to agree with someone on every issue to at least keep the lines of communications open. You don't have to support someone's decision. If you feel that someone has made a bad decision, you don't have to support it in order to hope for the redemption or to, again, keep the line of communication open or to look to care about their well-being. I made a series of horrible blunders in the not so distant past. And this all happened with regard to what happened with you and Steve McRae on the Non Sequitur show. First off, I think even small fish like me with 8,000 viewers and big fish like, who know, just pick your biggest, YouTube, R and Raw with a 250,000 viewers. We all, to some level, have some degree of responsibility to others. I hate that word influencer, but to some extent we are an influencer, and that could be good or bad. Our actions are an example to others. I don't think I was a very good example when I resorted to tribalism. I took Steve McRae's side, and if I just stayed at that, lots of YouTubers did that. We split right down the middle. The entire community split right down the middle. We formed tribes. We didn't even want to listen to the other side. The tribalism and the us versus them mentality, that's only partly what I'm sorry for falling into and becoming a part of. What I'm really wanting to apologize for is the way I came at you, specifically with some really horrible memes that I sat down, thought up, and created and put out there with the sole intention of hurting you and getting a laugh and every other childish fucking reason. And the memes, the shit talking, so unnecessary, so petulant, and it is the most juvenile thing. I'm embarrassed with myself for ever doing them. I want to apologize for those. And if a man is not capable of any sort of redemption, there's no reason to live. I don't consider, I'm a warrior. Every job I've ever done in my life has been to protect those who can't protect themselves. Military, law enforcement, corrections, security, everything has been designed to protect the little guy. And in corrections, case in point, you are a felon. You did something very bad. You redeemed yourself in the eyes of the law. You went through the legal system. You paid your price. You paid your debt to society. And I've committed blunders that what you were convicted of it pales in comparison to some of the things that I've done. We all stand guilty of something. And I think if we don't have a path to redemption, I'm rambling. I should have actually written this down. Do you understand what I'm saying so far, Kyle?
Totally.
Okay.
I 100%.
I feel like I need to do this. I need to set myself on a path of redemption. If it's not possible, I don't feel that it's worth, that I don't have any worth in life. And later on, just so you know, I'm going to, although you are on the show, although I want to keep the lines of communication open, I still, we don't even have to talk about the actual ins and outs of the situation because I know the actual legal is still ongoing. But I have a couple questions for you. If you don't want to answer them, I will give you my opinion of what I think should be done at this point going forward. But what this really is I want to find a way to seek redemption. I want to find a way for you to seek redemption. And most importantly, all this cannot be easy on your mental well-being. So I want to make sure that you're in a good place.
Yes, I am in a good place now. And let me start off by saying that you, in the grand scheme of things, like there's no need to seek redemption in terms of like what happened with this, in my opinion, because I don't hold any grudges. I understand that when people do YouTube, there's no manual for it. There's no like, there's nobody teaches you how that you're supposed to respond in certain situations. And a lot of times you're responding either off the cuff or in a, like in my case, where you're, in a fit of rage and you have the constant thought that there are so many people that are watching every move that you make, some waiting on you to make that one mistake that they can sort of capitalize on and go from there. So I understand in a pragmatic sense and just in tune with reality that when something like what happened with the Non Sequitur show happens, by default, most people are going to take a side. Most people are going to sort of fold in with, either the people that they've known the longest, the people that they've been, the closest to. I understand all that. I'm not in any way delusional enough to think that, I'm right in this situation, therefore everybody should side with me, and everybody who doesn't is just an idiot and, deserves no kind of talking to. I've talked with several people that take my side, quote unquote. I've talked with people who take Steve's side. We have Discord conversations from time to time, and I don't begrudge any of them. In fact, I've told them numerous times that I completely understand them taking that side, because when that happened, there was only one side of the story being put out there. I made it a point to sort of lay low because things were getting kind of, it was just becoming a lot and overwhelming. And I always thought that I had thick skin, and I still think that I do to a certain extent. But again, going back to, you're not really prepared for some of the things that go on YouTube. Like, I wasn't prepared for the sort of onslaught of continuous messages and, just the reaction that took place. It kind of jarred me a little bit. And so I had to step away for just my own, I just knew that I needed to step out and take care of, what I needed to take care of. And luckily I did that, and I'm in a much better place. But I thought, I thought a couple of your memes were funny. I can laugh at those. Kyle's Lawyer on Twitter was a hilarious Twitter account. There are some things, Jim, that aren't like, it didn't create a rift between you and I. We had an exchange on Twitter one time when, that was the height of my aggravation and all of this. And, I just sort of let it go. I didn't, care about going on any campaign to be like, Jim is, an asshole, because I know you're not. People just in the YouTube world get caught up a lot in the things that go on because of the either the clicks that they have or the friends that they have. It's human nature. And so I don't fault you or anyone else that sort of went with that, because even I can sit back and say that looking at it, because I wasn't coming out and responding to each individual thing that was put out there, that narrative was put out, and it looked like that was the one that was a no-brainer to go with, because the other side wasn't talking and sort of, seeming like they were dodging any sort of confrontation on this. So in my opinion, I have no ill will towards you, no ill thoughts. I still thought one of the most fun things that I've done on YouTube was that night that we filmed with Shannon out at the steakhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, I think back to that fondly often.
Yeah.
Earlier, if I could just butt in real quick.
Sure.
Just now you said constant scrutiny, and see, that's where it can't be hard. It can't be easy on you mentally right now. It can't be easy on Steve mentally. It can't be easy on anyone that's involved. And really, the only two people that are involved are you two. Everyone else I'm not saying they need to stay the fuck out, because they are free to do whatever they want. I am going to officially bow the fuck out. I'm gonna urge the rest of my hosts of this show. That's all really. That's the only sphere of influence that I want to be responsible for. And from here on out, I'm a big believer in the American justice system. The legal system here in the United States is the worst on earth, but it's better than every other legal system on earth. I've got to have quote unquote faith in that system and let it do its job. Commenting on it from a peanut gallery and all the 50 million armchair quarterbacks, it's irrelevant, but it can grate on you. You did mention the constant scrutiny. I consider it life in a fishbowl. Sometimes it feels like life in a fishbowl. I just called the police 2 nights ago. Right now they're still scared. They went on, they moved up their vacation, spring break vacation to the Ozarks. So my wife and 2 kids are gone. They left early because of this. 2 nights ago, it had to be 2 people because 2 different windows were being pounded on at the same time. But it wasn't just knocking on a window to like, hey, Jim, it's an old friend, come around to the front door. It was pounding on the windows almost to the point of breaking them, like to send a message. I went to the window. Of course, I'm locked and loaded. I look out the peephole and someone's got their hand over the peephole. Then I kind of freaked out. And I called my next door neighbor who's a local, works for a local PD. He came out, his whole tactical thing, which seeing him work, I realized how perishable of a skill tactical training is, because I tried to go out there and cover them. And it had been a decade since I've been in a hostile combat zone. And in my head, I was thinking I still have all those skills ready at my fingertips, and how perishable of a skill they are, because I felt like a fumbling fool out there. I would have gotten us all killed if they were still out there. But anyway, he and I did a sweep around the neighborhood. Then we called his friends at the local PD, and they patrolled the neighborhood all night. We got some good tips. Someone had the doorbell with the 2 doors down. They recorded some
Ring cam.
It's like a ring, yeah. So they showed on the phone. They had it recorded. So we have some suspects. I assume I've got 2 credible threats so far in 3 years of doing the show, and they're all related to my criticism of Islam. Anyway.
Oh, wow.
Life in a fishbowl. It scared the shit out of my family. I understand that it's very nerve-wracking. The armchair quarterbacks, like everyone on earth right now except you and Steve, I would hope that we can all, I'm only going to speak for myself. I'm going to, from here on out, temper any criticism I have. One of our show has 21 commandments. Over time that we just add commandments, things that are little mottos to live by, right? I forget which number it is, but one is do not perpetuate drama. And I am guilty of the biggest blunder of all time. Not only did I perpetuate drama, I think I actively took part in fucking your head up a little bit and making your life more miserable than it needed to be. If you screwed up, which right now, if you ask me, I think you screwed up by the original action with the Non Sequitur show. What I did to let you know you screwed up was the worst possible way I could have done it. What I should have done is take you aside And because this was after that Faithless Forum. So not only did I jeopardize my relationship with you, but I ruined friendships with other people that saw how I treated you. And now they will probably never talk to me again. Jimmy Snow, Mr. Atheist, of Shannon, that night, that was a beautiful night that we had. You guys, that was by hands down the funniest and most enjoyable episode we've ever done in 3 years, you and Shannon that night. That's never going to be repeated. She and Jimmy will probably never talk to me again. So I have a lot of atoning for.
Well, you might be you led the message that you sent me about having this conversation with, you're probably not going to agree to do this. And, I said right away that I would. I think that, just being completely honest and candid, I think that there comes a certain point. I've learned this with being away from YouTube. YouTube is great. It's a great medium to interact with people. You meet a lot of good people, a lot of great people, a lot of people with amazing ideas and talent and ways to make you think that you didn't have before. But if you let it, it can completely cause people to, anybody, even myself, to do make decisions that they normally wouldn't have, behave in a way that they normally wouldn't have. And in a situation like this, I think that it's to the point where we have to just let it go in a way and move on. Like with what happened, even if you take the stance that I made a poor decision in how that the Not Sequitur show ended, it was still a decision that was made, one that in certain aspects I may agree. I can say now that there are many instances of how I wish I would have handled the situation differently, how I wouldn't have changed the conclusion, because in my mind and what I was dealing with, that separation needed to happen. I didn't do it in the best way. I didn't do it in the most professional way. I wish that I could go back and have a do-over, but I can't. And I have to, be able to say that I'm human and, I fuck up quite often. And, one day it may be on YouTube, one day it may be on this, one day it may be on that. But when that happens, I try my best to be able to be, big enough to admit that I did make that mistake and that I wish I could have not handled it the way that I did. I can't go back and fix the things that I want to fix. That's done. So people are in my mind, the scenario of, okay, that happened. It kind of sucked the way it happened, but are we going to continue to have this be a focal point 2 years later, 1 year later, 2 years later, and not say, well, Kyle fucked up, Steve fucked up. It didn't end in the best of light, but hey, that's life. Shit happens. Things like that go south, and bands break up, couples break up, show partners break up, and everybody in the situation wishes that it didn't happen that way, especially for the people involved and the really big fans of the show.
Yep.
And it sucks. It's just not an outcome that anybody foresaw, but it doesn't take away from it. Like a band, and I say this a lot of times, it's like when a band breaks up, like Pink Floyd. When they broke up, yeah, it was shocking. It sucked. It was, people either want to go with Roger Waters or David Gilmour, but it doesn't take away from the music that they made. Like, you can still listen to a Pink Floyd song. You can still listen to Comfortably Numb and take something away from it. Take what they meant to put across away from it. And the most unfortunate thing in all of this, it's not so much, what I was dealing with in terms of, people trying to contact me or the legal thing. It's the fact that I can't speak for Steve, but myself, I had a vision for what I wanted that show to kind of come across. And you put a lot of your heart and soul into, a project like that. It becomes, because it was an everyday thing, every night streaming, and it becomes an extension of yourself. And the really sad thing about all of this is that in the mire of the drama that's unfolded since the split, the focus is taken away on what the main purpose of the channel was really sort of set for. The tone of it, the memory, it's just tainted. It's a thing where it's like you're going to remember more so the battle that ensued after Non Sequitur ended, rather than the nights of us trying to get to big points, having big conversations with important people in whatever fields. And that to me is the most heartbreaking thing out of the whole thing. I just hate to see that happen. But again,
it was heartbreaking. That's exactly right. At the height of, it happened right at the height of the show, when it was still on a really fast trajectory. It was on a fast track to be the show. It was going to be the next Atheist Experience. Everyone thought so. And so, yes, that right there was heartbreaking. Have you ever seen it? I don't think it's still in syndication, but it was a show. Jason Lee, I think, was the main character. My Name is Earl. You remember that sitcom? Okay.
Yeah.
The whole premise was this guy, he was just a douchebag his whole life, and then something clicked. And there's something to be said for, I don't know if it was related to the like alcohol or a 12-step program. 12-step programs are faith-based, and I've talked about it. Courtney especially, she's our psychology expert, but we've talked about it on the show. But there is some good that comes out of a 12-step program, namely atoning for your past mistakes. So part of the 12-step, one of the steps is you go to everyone you've ever wronged while you were addicted, and apologize and try to atone for that. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. And I think it's cleansing for not only, for most importantly, everyone that you've wronged, but it also helps your mental well-being. And well, I'll say it right now. It's not just apologizing. I apologize to you, Kyle Curtis, for everything that I've done to wrong you during all this. Is there anything I can do, or I can leverage my channel to do, to correct the mistakes I've made?
Absolutely not. I think that your channel has a great focus. It has a mission, I think, to bring people together in various aspects that it's not, trying to channel them through different means. With I know you did the Atheist Book Club. You have the games that Aaron, Ron, and me and Shannon and that played.
The banner campaign, that raised a lot of awareness, I think. Yeah.
I don't have anything for, like, me personally. We're square. Like, again, I look at the situation for what it is, and I'm not going to put any sort of I got out of that negative headspace. I'm not going to attach any negative energy or waste any effort on a situation that, just in the grand scheme of things, the entire situation was shitty. The whole thing, the way that everybody acted in every aspect was shitty. Everybody, us main players, me, Steve, Reds, et cetera, we all did stuff that was shitty, stuff that under normal circumstances we wouldn't do. But in the broil of YouTube and the chanting of crucify him from one half of the fans to me and the other half to Steve, you let that kind of run with you, and that's human nature. And it would be really not only hypocritical of me, but just a way that I don't want to be, for me to hold a grudge against people that got caught up in that, because we all got caught up in that.
If it was sticking to the point and being an asshole, that's one level that people need to atone for. And I'm not asking others to follow my lead. I'm hoping they do. but I'm not going to even ask it. You do what's in your heart and you do what makes you feel comfortable. I'm talking to everyone out there but another level of douchebaggery that can be piled on top of this is not just sticking to the subject, but then I see from the very beginning, people were looking outside of this particular issue and digging up irrelevant dirt on each of you, finding stuff in your past or things you're doing now that are unrelated to this issue to try to detract. Like, I take person X aside. Now I'm going to go to look at person Y. I'm going to find every nasty thing he's ever done, completely irrelevant of the situation at hand. And now I'm just going to try to make him look bad. And that might be human nature too. And if it is, holy shit, I weep for our future as a humanity.
Yeah, it's a thing like, you know, I don't want to say anything, you know, to perpetuate, you know, this situation in any shape or form, but I feel like this is a good time to make this point. Drama sells. Drama is it's the avenue to funnel an audience to your content. The case in point with this is the streams, and this is a thing, like, there were so many streams, and at one point I counted like 50 or 60 streams that were done on me or one of my other co-hosts, from, you know, the Steve side of things. Like, these streams were consistently happening over and over and over again, and it was the same thing. It was the same, you know, same story. There wasn't many updates or whatever.
The same thing was being done on your behalf as well, though. Admittedly, correct?
Well, I'm talking about. I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there were
Okay.
people that were doing streams. I'm just talking about Steve himself streaming.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. But
on his channel,
people that were quote unquote loyal to you were doing the same thing against Steve, and still continue to. Okay.
I have no doubt about that.
Right.
I'm not saying that they're not, but I'm saying, like, between myself and Steve on his own personal channel, there were that many streams that were, and I say that to draw this point here. There is a difference to me, and I think where I sort of got like, I was kind of surprised with some of the things that were going on, is once that caught on, like this was going to be a drama thing, there's that push to capitalize on it. And a lot's being made, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it here in a second, about the court case, about the...
Only if you want to, Kyle, because
I'm fine.
It's still pending, so if, you know, you don't feel compelled to talk about it. I do have a couple questions, and
sure.
Full disclosure, Steve and I had a private chat Saturday night, and he has a list of things he wants me to ask you. I don't want to be an intermediary between you two. I think that's for the courts to decide as well. I have some questions I want to ask that just happen to be on his list. So, okay.
Sure. But I say that to say this point. There's a lot of talk about this court case, and I keep hearing it over again, and people keep saying, you know, sending the clips of it to me, where there's this sentence that's going on over and over again. Once we have non sequitur back, X will happen. Once we have non sequitur back, this show will happen. And I guess since you're going to be asking some questions that come from Steve, I just have one to go in the opposite direction. And that question would be, if your goal is not to be focused on the drama, if your goal is to be focused on that content, like we were doing with the non sequitur show, you don't have to have, whether the courts side with Steve or they side with me, you don't have to have that non sequitur show channel to do that. Instead of, in the intermediate time where this is being decided by court, continuing, because he had the audience that mainly or mostly sort of defaulted loyal to Steve, you could have taken that and continued to do those shows, to do that, the non sequitur show. But instead, it was a hard left to non sequitur shows dead, reading deleted comments from the non sequitur show. It was a capitalization on the drama. And so what's disheartening for me is that what I was saying earlier, the focus of what the non sequitur show stood for was lost. And in its place was this clickbait drive to drama. And I think
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. He could have kept it going. The only thing that would have been lost in the interim is, well, I mean, his current biggest channel only has a third of what non sequitur show had in its prime, in its heyday. So he would have lost two-thirds of his viewership right off the bat. But you're saying if he had just molded that format onto the Steve McRae channel in the interim and kept it going, it would have been more noble of a thing.
Right. Here's the thing too with that,
because drama does get views. Drama does get views.
But with the point that you just raised, where would the motivator be in that scenario? Is it the fact that you have to have that high number to be motivated to do that content? Or like that's my question. Like,
if you want to put out the quality, see our show's quality, we have one benefactor and we got a good camera. We're constantly making improvements, but our improvement level is slower because we have less patrons, we have less viewership, we have less ad revenue. The more revenue you have coming in, the more time you can devote to the channel, and you can make a better quality product.
In most cases, I would agree with you. But I mean, we both know that Steve is on the internet, all day, all night. Like, he never gets off the internet. He's either doing blogs or, whatever. So the time is there. I'm just making the ultimate point of the fact that there was a conscious decision whether he could continue with trying to put out the content that the Non Sequitur show did, or he chose to drive home the drama route. And that's further proven by not just stopping at me, but going to Katie, going to the teen mom, Lily Jean. I mean,
Steve McRae, if I know you're going to be watching this, and here's where you're going to, please don't hate me, but I'm going to agree with Kyle on this one. The constant desire to just expose this drama, whether it might be founded or unfounded. This is just Jim Hall's opinion, just my personal opinion. I wouldn't be doing it. I don't think, because I don't want to perpetuate that kind of drama. If that's the kind of show, and Steve, that's not Steve. Steve doesn't, that's not his natural state. I think he feels like he's being driven to this. But I do agree with you, Kyle. I think it's a little too much. I think every time someone slights him, he has to make it his personal mission to try to take them down and expose them for who they are. Instead of just, it's so much easier to ignore trolls. And he has a hard time ignoring trolls.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's it's like, we obviously, Steve and I don't care for each other, but I'm not going to be so I'm not gonna lie and say that there aren't qualities that Steve has where when it's a subject where he really knows what he's talking about and is engaged in, he can be entertaining to listen to. Like, when he does things about the science or the philosophy thing, except for the atheist definition thing. Other than that, he can get he can be entertaining at times, and taking myself out of the entire situation and forgetting about all the shitty things that happened. It is in a way sort of sad to see what he could be doing versus he's diving into teen mom. I think that was the point where I was just like, I mean, what is happening here? Like something's off. Like, I don't even like the guy. I mean, there's no love lost between Steve and I, but Steve could be making a much better content decision and stick to that, and the channel could grow just like the Non Sequitur show did if he stuck to it. But it's the easy route is what's going to get 700 people watching, and that is calling somebody stupid and exposing them.
You
I
just
guess.
said something out loud that I've been thinking for a long time, and called me naive. I didn't want to think it's true. And out of sheer desperation, sheer naivety, I think maybe um, I have this idea that maybe after this is all said and done, ideally, a perfect world, you the case is closed. The non sequitur is back in let's say it goes to Steve. Steve has control of it. You two atone for you atone. Okay, it's hard to say this without actually just showing my hand. I feel like you did him wrong. So in a perfect world, I feel like you um apologize for every mistake you made. Apologize for the way that you ended the non sequitur show. Do everything in your power to make it up to Steve. He accepts your apology, and he apologizes for all the vicious attacks on his side. And then we all meet in Dallas, or we meet at the next where's the Faithless Forum? In Austin in June. And we all, and everyone sits around, you and Steve and all your fans sit around and share a beer together.
I do admire your your will. I will say that. And you know, I completely understand. You know, you like when you said that you felt like I did Steve wrong. I completely get that. I completely understand that. That's a valid way to think. I think just speaking on that.
Let's just go ahead and cut to the
Sure.
case, because
Yeah.
it seems like it's time for
Sure.
my first and only, and really, I wasn't even predicting that you wanted to talk about the actual, because it's still ongoing. My question for you, and Steve wants to know this as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so we do have a recording of you saying that you got served. So that's out there. I mean, it's no surprise, but your legal action, you submitted a legal action saying I didn't get served properly. Do you feel like you got served properly? And are you being completely honest with the fact that you didn't know that you got served originally because of the wrong address?
Completely honest. I had moved. I had moved by that point to Charlotte, and the way that service is done in North Carolina is that most people, when you're in a lawsuit, they have personal service, like you're personally served from the service processor. I don't remember, and I actually haven't seen the clip, by the way. I think that somebody sent it to me. I know that there's a clip of me saying something about getting served or whatever. I don't know specifically what I said because I haven't watched it, but I don't doubt that what you're saying is true. And I would venture to guess that I'm talking about that in terms of like an overall picture of me knowing about the lawsuit that's going on.
Right.
There's a difference between being served properly and knowing that the court case is going on. I don't know what the judge is going to decide.
That's an important distinction. You had, unless you were living literally under a rock, you had to have known that you were served, but you're contending that if I didn't get served properly, it doesn't apply, right? So you were aware that you were being served. Your argument is that you didn't get served properly.
I found out that a lawsuit was going on. The official paperwork that is by law, supposed to start that proceeding was never relayed to me. And so my contention, it's, again, this goes back to this being such a clusterfuck of a situation. Just like there are the clip that you said of me saying something about servers. There are the clips of Steve admitting that he sent it to the wrong address. There are like 3 or 4 of those clips. I actually sent them in my affidavit with the transcripts of them, where he said we something to the effect of I knew it was an old address. He was defending not doxing me per se, and his defense of that was that's not his address. So I didn't dox Kyle. I put Kyle's address up there, but it was his old address. So technically that's not.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's assume for the sake of argument that the whoever served the subpoena took it to the wrong address and didn't put it physically in your hand, and you do have a case there. What would happen in that scenario? Is this basically I not hung jury, but does this just get thrown out of court, and is there an opportunity to start this action over from scratch?
It will. There are 2 things that I did. I filed a motion to set aside with prejudice, which is a standard thing that you're going to do just for formality's sake. I have no unreal expectations that it's going to get thrown out with prejudice. Like I'm not delusional, and I don't think that's a thing. I put together what I thought was a case for it. More than likely, that part will not be accepted. I completely see that coming. What I do anticipate happening is that the judgment will be set aside, and then it will allow Steve and I to have the back and forth, with the court, both sides on the table, and then the judge making a call based on those 2 sides.
Oh, so the process is not going to have to be started completely from scratch, started over. Like the
not that I'm
subpoena
aware.
didn't get sent, so I don't know what it means to be set aside. But this current case just stays in effect, and then now that both of you, the only thing that so all
so
that.
Let me just say that on that point real quick. Number one, I am not an attorney, and
Right.
I'm only saying what I've kind of gathered with this. The set aside part is the default judgment. So because there wasn't a defense put up from my side on that, the judge would just be saying, okay, I gave Steve a default judgment because there wasn't it wasn't contested in the original thing.
Because
so
right now a judgment has already been passed down, and the only thing set aside right now is the total dollar amounts, because they haven't had a chance to look at
This will set everything
records
aside. This will set the entire judgment aside.
Right, but right now the financials are set aside.
Right.
Until the financials can be looked at.
Right.
Right now, there's already been an opinion sent down by the judge, correct?
Right.
And that's to immediately give over the passwords, and so that's already been done.
That decision has been made. My motion is to petition the judge to set that aside.
Okay, and you don't think it's going to happen, and so when it doesn't happen, it's just going to bring. It's going to.
I don't think it'll get thrown out with prejudice, meaning that it can't be brought back in court. So I filed for that, so the judge can say you're thrown out, and Steve, you can't bring it back into court.
I see.
I don't think that will pass. What I do think will is the set aside on the basis that service wasn't done properly, and then both sides will have to state their.
I see.
Their case again.
So best case scenario for you now is that none of the judgments apply. We start back there from square one. The two of you get together and argue in front of the court. Who gets what?
Right.
And then how do you see that going? Do you see do you see it being confirmed that you're going to have to give over the passwords and the books and the show and the residuals and the Patreon and the
personally no, and I'll explain why. And again, this is one individual that has the power to make those decisions. He could have a completely different look at it than I do, and it could go either way. I'm just telling you what I think. Steve won that default judgment based on it not being contested originally. There wasn't an answer from my side. There was no evidence put forth, tangible, that states that there were, that there was any agreement in terms of a partnership between the two of us. My thing was, when the channel sort of fizzled out, I was trying to broker like a deal with getting Steve 50% of the videos that he was in, and setting aside, breaking away that way. I ceased those sort of talks when the campaigns of harassment, not only towards me, but the other former hosts of the channel were happening, and the like the super chats he was reading that were obvious, either slander or defamation. Obviously not true what he was saying for the money. And I went back and tallied those two to a very shocking number that was generated based on that, those, slanders, defamation. And so my case at that point became, well, there's an active campaign to cause a detrimental effect to the channel, which the financial aspect of it. So he's actively damaging that sort of revenue stream while profiting from it in his own right. And so I decided that, fine, we need to let the courts, work this out and see where they go based on that. There was no way I was going to sort of feed into that behavior or reward that behavior by allowing him to do that to and like I said, not only me, but to, the friends of mine that were a part of the show who were guilty of doing nothing but just being a part of the show. There was no grand conspiracy to overthrow Steve. I am solely responsible in that sort of where the direction of that sort of harassment needed to go, or, was justified in going. And to see it go in those other directions, just for no other reason than I can see, other than, again, beating that drama drum, I was done at that point. And at that point, then we were going to have to let the courts come in and decide on that.
It hurts my heart to know the realization that things are never going to be the same. I think the reality just hit me, because this whole time I've been clinging to some sick sexual fantasy that, and both of you will hate me for even bringing this up, but this sick fantasy that the judge goes, listen, this petty nonsense, you two, Non Sequitur show is both of yours, share and share alike, get along, you two babies play nice together, and pick it up where it's left off. Both of you have access to the accounts. Both of you share all revenue, past, present, and future, and fucking start playing nice. And then it will be the court's way of forcing you all to make this right. And both of you have to swallow your pride. And I know Steve is going to kick my ass for even thinking that, but that comes from a place of love.
Here's my thing, Jim. Between the two of us, there's only one of us that's continuously going out trying to paint the other as a thief or a no good, rotten scoundrel that is the problems to do with kind of like anybody that criticizes them.
Your fans are doing it just as ruthlessly as Steve's are.
Could be. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about our fans though. I'm talking about Steve himself.
Okay, Steve, I have to give you that one. Because
I can't control what my fans, do or Steve's fans do. True. I don't, that's between them. But I know that I'm not.
Well, you went off the radar for months. People were worried about you.
I did go off the radar. The reason I went off the radar is for two reasons. Number one, I need to do it for me. But for number two, I'm not interested in capitalizing or trying to capitalize or trying to drum up some sort of following or hammering my chest in terms of going after Steve. Because for me, I am with where I am at right now. Again, I did a lot of wrong in how I handled things, but I knew why that needed to happen. I did it the wrong way, but I knew why it needed to happen. And that the reason why it needed to happen is the same things that a lot of people are seeing now with these other different aspects that are going on. it's a pattern of behavior. And I'm not here to rail off on Steve or whatever, but I knew what I needed to do at that point. I stand by that, and I would have done it again, but in a completely different way, and broke things off, had, things signed in advance where everybody knew, where they stood on things. By the way, if you're thinking about starting a channel and you have someone else involved, get everything in writing, whether it be you're a partnership, whether one of you is in control of the channel, make sure that's written down and the other person acknowledges that, because it will save you so much.
We did use this as an example. This was early on. This was when the court case was just getting started, and the whole world was seeing what could happen to a channel. At the beginning of we only record our channel. We only record once a month. So it's like a 10 or 12 hour recording session. It's a big to do. We have a lot of spectators, a lot of people come in, we record 12 hours straight. And that's enough footage to last us for the entire month. That's how we do with little sprinklings of stuff like this. But, so at the beginning of one of the recording sessions, bright and early, I sat down the rest of the hosts, and I put all of us on camera, and just so happened Aaron Ra was he was there in the studio. So he was our mediary. He's the one that was going to pipe up and say, listen, I don't know. Can you amplify on what you just said, or just have him there as an impartial third party? So we had him there, and I just went down this list, and it was on video. There's nothing written. I think that would hold up in court, but we all agreed who gets what, how do people, what happens if someone decides to leave, who's in control of what, how are profits to be split. We went through everything. So everything's on video. And then I gave a copy of that to every one of the other hosts. So I hope other channels do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely necessary. Save yourself the trouble, and don't be naive enough to think that, well, either we're really good friends and that would never happen, or it will never be that big, because you definitely want to not make this mistake.
If the court, worst case scenario for you, judge says, I don't even want to talk about all the back money, because if I owed 60 grand, not only would I be a wet hen, it would be impossible for me to pay it off. So I'd be paying on that like a student loan for the rest of my goddamn life. So forget about the back pay, but just the channel itself. If the court orders you today, release everything, all the Patreon, all the side social media passwords, the channel, the records, the analytics, the financial records. Are you prepared to go ahead and do that?
Absolutely. To me, the non sequitur show was to me it was a beautiful thing when it was rolling. You know what I mean? I'm not tied to it in order to survive, or for me to feel like I'm in any way accomplishing what I need to. And I'm not saying Steve is, but there's a drive for whatever reason to get that channel. And if I'm ordered to hand it over, yes. I mean, I'm not going to not comply with a court order. I'll happily do that. And then, I will move on. That will be the period on that sentence. I don't have any sort of, I don't even know how to say it. I did what I felt we needed to at the time with non sequitur. Obviously, that chapter is closed. So me holding on to a channel with a number on it that's not uploading any more content or anything like that is not something that I'm obsessed over, or that
I can see why
I have to have happen.
Yeah, I can see the appeal in wanting the channel for each of you. I mean, to this day, I've never seen a live chat with 700 people in it, like back in the day, like back when non sequitur was at its height. And that's due 100% to the quality content, the right people talking about the right things. And it's rare in this community. This community is so divided right now and shit talking. We're not focused on what we should be. We're the worst. I'm embarrassed to be an atheist right now, a YouTube atheist. I'm embarrassed to be one. I'm embarrassed to be a part of this community with all the infighting and nastiness The Christians are probably just looking at us and just dying laughing.
Well, the Christians themselves are eating each other up. I mean, you've got
you've
got G-Man going crazy. You've got Shannon and Rev doing their thing on like every community has a their sides, their cracks, and their drama, quote unquote. And I think a lot of it has to do with the kind of people that you want to build an audience around. There are some content creators that have audiences that they go to that content creator for that specific kind of content. And, that whether it be educational or religious or what have you. And those content creators don't really get into the mix of the fray. They don't comment on the drama. They have their focus, and, they do that. Those channels, if you look at them, they remain steady and consistent and focused on what they're doing. There's not a lot of excitement. There's not a lot of back and forth response videos and, he said, she said, and all this. The live chat's not kicking off and popping, but they're consistent in what their focus is and what their message is. So in my opinion, you just have to decide which kind of content creator that you want to be. If you want to be a content creator that has a focus, something that you want to see changed in the world, or, you have a vision that you want to accomplish, or what have you, whatever your goal is.
I can't help but think of Stephen Woodford right now. I mean, there's content creators like Holy Kool-Aid, Anthony Magnamosco, people that just somehow are above all this, right? And I would consider Rationality Rules a part of that. And then just out of the blue, a subject like transgender females in women's sport pops up. And then before you know it, you are in the center, embroiled in the center of this culture war, and you did not want it. You did not expect it.
But do you see what happened in that case? What happened in that case was that you had an individual, Rationality Rules, who has, prior to that video being released, done content in having the backs of the LGBTQ community. He was actively an ally. I used to watch his content, before I even came out for being gay. I know that he doesn't have the attributes that were given to him in him. He didn't, that video that he did was not to be transphobic or not to insult anyone that is trans. What happened with that, though, is it's a parallel to this and every other thing. There are people that see those things, see the opportunity to create a narrative, create a story, drive a wedge, be sort of the drama magnet for this. And it got speared up by we all know who. And from that point, it was, okay, I have to either choose a side now. And my whole thing is, you don't be the person that chooses a side. Be the person that sees what's going on from each side. You have your opinion, but you aren't interested in making one, canceling one, raising the other, or vice versa. Stephen got caught up in the middle of all of that stuff that distracted from his normal routine, and he had to, constantly be making, follow-up videos and all this stuff, because one individual decided to take him out of context, say things that he said that he didn't say, and call him these names. And because it was an example and an opportunity for other people who may not be in the fray as much, that wanted a little piece of the action, to get involved because they felt like this was going to be their way to get into the narrative, or I have to say this. That is the opening in the door. And when that happens, you have this happen, because it goes in 9 million directions, and it ventures away from what the original problem was. And if you notice, the people who were having those battles on Twitter were not Rationality Rules or the other person having a discussion. It was every other, either up and coming creator, some established creators, everybody that had no stake in it because it wasn't their video. They felt the need to get involved. And that's the problem.
There are professional atheist YouTubers, people that do it for a living. Then there's professional attention getters, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to label Essence of Thought that. Stephen, of course, I can any rational person can see in his heart and know that he's a good, kind, decent person who doesn't have a anti-LGBT bone in his body. But also, by the same token, Essence of Thought, I can see in his heart too, and he's a good person too. And just like my name is Earl and the 12-step and what I'm trying to do right now, I would hope that maybe he tries to seek some sort of redemption as well, because I think he wronged Stephen in a big way.
Yeah,
I would hope he does that.
I can't make any, comments towards, whether, because I don't know Essence of Thought personally. I only can comment based on what I saw, the accusations being thrown out, the names that we're getting, or the labels that we're getting put on individuals. And I think that, or at least I hope that if he looks back on that situation, he can kind of see where doing that was a huge detriment and took away from the good work that a lot of channels were doing, because they were wasting time with allies arguing with other fucking allies, people who champion the other person's rights on the same side were battling it out. You had people who supported trans people having to defend the fact that they were not a transphobe. I got called homophobic because I defended, yes, that tweet is still up. That tweet's still up. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is the level of fuckery we have reached for whatever reason on the internet. And
at the worst,
stop.
Yep. At the height of my vitriol towards you, my juvenile, impetulant vitriol towards you, when I was thinking completely with my heart and not my head, it just so happened that coincided with a campaign that I think was being led by, come on, help me out, against the steadfast, the NIFB church. And there was there were big YouTubers actually physically showing up at NIFB protests at churches. And they were doing great things to raise awareness, to show that these are hate mongers and bigots. It was during that time. I'm so embarrassed to even bring this up because it's such a big regret of mine. But I took that opportunity to hijack a lot of Jimmy Snow, Mr. Atheist, Shannon Q. I hijacked a lot of their important messages that they were sending out via Twitter, especially. I would completely irrelevant. Like, they're talking about the NIFB protests, and I'm using that platform to hijack that message to, hey, but why are you going on? Jimmy, why do you keep appearing on Non Sequitur show? Answer for that, like a fucking idiot. So not only am I just rerouting the conversation to fit my agenda, I'm taking away from that important message. And that fucking, I don't know how I'm ever going to atone for that.
You don't, Jim. You just acknowledge that it happened, and like what you just did, and say that you regret it, and then you move on. You have to, like, the biggest, what I think the most regretful thing would be to do is for people like yourself or anyone else to, in not only this situation but any situation, if you spend so much time, like my advice is to move away from it, like break away from this whole entire thing. You acknowledge what you would have done differently. I've acknowledged what I would have done differently, and let's move the fuck on. Focus on what is important. Don't worry about atoning, because in some people's eyes, you're like mine. It's not even a thing of atonement, and in other people's eyes, you'll never ever, until the day you die, be able to atone enough. And so you have to stop worrying about the pleasing those individual people and getting back to what you do.
It's not to please them. It's to get it right with myself. Because you're right. There's some people that are never going to be happy.
Right.
And you know how the far extreme left can be. They can be as bad as the far extreme right. They're never going to live it down. They're never going to forget. They're always going to hold a grudge. And and apologizing can make it worse in most cases.
Keep in mind this, Jim. This is what I always say. I don't really do like apologies or whatever, like in my personal life. And I tell people this. It's because like they're just words that anybody can say. My thing is action. Like, I will show you if I'm genuinely sorry by correcting that behavior or trying to make up for that. And so I would, if I were you, this is just my advice, like like the atonement part, set it aside. You have a job to do, and that is putting out and spreading the message that you have, because it's a good message and it gets out to other people. If you focus on that and acknowledge the biggest thing you've already done, the hardest thing for most people to do is that they acknowledge that they've done something wrong in the first place. It's getting them to say, hey, I fucked up in this case. I fucked up, yes, but I'm not going to sit around and I'm not going to, beat myself up about it or say, it over and over and over again to appease this group of people. I'm going to say that I did X, and then I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep kicking ass in my mission and my vision and my drive, because those actions are the best way to make up for anything that you feel, wherever you in life that you feel like you've misstep. And there's a newsflash, we've all done that. It's a rare thing to have people acknowledge that and then move on. Just do gym and get that message out there and leave this shit behind, because you've acknowledged it, and there's nothing more that sitting around and trying to explain yourself or whatever will do. But your message, getting that out, will do something. And so that's the route.
Thanks, Kyle.
I would take.
That helped me a little bit.
Sure.
I have 2 more points I have to get out before we end. And of course I do plugs too, so don't let me forget if there's any plugs. So I'm going to tell you what the 2 are before I even ask you that first one. The one here is where I'm going to beg you to make the court case go away and to just give Steve everything right now. Second, then I'm going to end with making sure you're right, that your head's right now. That you're not gonna try to open up a couple veins in a warm bathtub anytime soon, and that your head's good, and that you're in a good mental frame of mind. So first thing, the non sequitur show still exists. I think the Twitter's been deleted. I think it can be recovered. Right now, I don't think any permanent damage has been done.
It hasn't been deleted. Let me just clarify first.
It hasn't been deleted?
That. It is just deactivated.
On hold, deactivated. Okay. I didn't think any permanent damage has been caused so far. So that's a good thing. Is there a way, because you said, well, Steve could have just picked up where he left off and made something similar to a non sequitur show right off the bat instead of doing all the drama. By the same token, do you think you could just, because this court case could be over tomorrow. Steve would drop all charges if you were to send him all the passwords, all the financials right now, atone for it. I'm not speaking for him. I don't know if the court case would be dropped, but I think it would go a long way towards extending that olive branch. Let's just say, for sake of argument, give him everything right now. Apologize for everything you've done. Hope that he apologizes for maybe some of the things he said about you as well. Maybe we can, I'm not saying you're going to become friends again. I guess I'm not that naive anymore, but just hand over everything right now. Ask that he drops the court case. You start your life, and your brand right now, if you started from scratch, it would be a winning show in no time. Could that happen?
In a far off utopian world, maybe. I don't. It's a fair question for you to ask, and I completely understand why you did that. I'm going to explain in my opinion of why that couldn't happen. People can take it for what it's worth. Again, it's just my opinion. It will ultimately be decided by the courts. But the basis of, I'm actually fighting, and I filed a motion to keep the court case open. That's number one. I don't want him to throw the court case out. Like that wouldn't be an option on that aspect of it. I wouldn't give the channel over to Steve willingly, because one big reason, as I alluded to it earlier, and then in my response to the court order when I handed over the packet of financials, I outlined in detail and in PDF format and everything, every aspect of that show that wound up being a couple thousand pieces when it was all said and done. The graphics, the layouts, the music, every little detail was pieced together meticulously in some cases, and after extensive me for weeks trying to put together a brand look. That is my entire heart and soul put out in an image or branding.
You're claiming an intellectual property there.
Well, I'm not claiming in a legal sense. What I'm saying is, when you look at that show, when you look at the visual aspects of it, the music, all that, that came from me and the vision that I had for what I wanted the show to look like. I don't want that willingly linked now to whatever would, and here's why I say this in all fairness. That show, the way that it looked, the quality that it kind of portrayed out there was purposeful. That was a way to sort of show that there was some seriousness behind it. When I say Steve could now be trying to do a non sequitur show type show with his channel that he's doing now, but he doesn't. If he got the non sequitur channel tomorrow, it would be the Google Hangouts layout like it was always. The steel card from the Great Debate Community that folds into the show, the pieces that made the non sequitur show.
Right.
Wouldn't be paid attention to.
Okay.
And
yeah, I get you.
If he cared about those little things, he could be doing that right now. But still, you have generic thumbnails that are pulled off the internet, just straight slapped up there. There's no pride in putting off a the non sequitur show, what that entailed. And so, if I handed it over, it wouldn't
be the non sequitur show we're used to. You're saying
no, it would be it would be just like the Steve McRae channel. And so, to me, that cheapens right now as it stands, the non sequitur show as an archive channel. Neither one of us uploading any content. It being the way that it was, it's locked into a look. There is no altering. There is no sort of messing with or things going downhill or uphill or whatever else. Yep. It is what it is. Go ahead. I was just gonna say when you spend that much time, hours every day putting into something like that, you're not willingly under any means going to just say, here you go, do your thing. Or I hope not.
I can see where you're coming from. I think a lot of people would say, well, visual appeal, graphics, all the bells and whistles, that's a small slice of the pie compared to the good quality programming. It's booking the right guests. It's asking the right questions. So there's that. And
they're all important.
Yeah. Visual. Yeah. Well, I agree. Not to say that Steve might just be kind of in idle right now, waiting to get the show back before he explodes with something pretty incredible. Who knows? As far as visual appeal,
it hasn't happened for 8 years. What's he waiting on?
Yeah. Visual appeal. There's a show called In Time. Nicholas, I don't know how to say his last name. It's French. Suter. It's Suter. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Courtney, one of my co-hosts, is now a permanent co-host. He took Ansgar's place, so she's over at In Time now.
What happened to Ansgar?
They had you'll find this phrase familiar. They went separate ways. They had a difference. They had creative differences.
Well, does Ansgar get pieces of time in perpetuity?
I don't know if the in perpetuity has been mentioned. I really don't know much. I watched the Goodbye. Yeah. I watched Nicholas's Goodbye, and I watched Ansgar's Goodbye. But just kind of, doing this gig, I don't get to consume other people's shit as much as I used to back when I was just But that's a really great layout. I love that In Time layout. But yeah, that's just a side note. Shit. How about this? And Steve didn't put me up to this. This is Jim talking.
Sure.
What I wouldn't like the prospect of us having to write a $60,000 check hanging over my head right now. You have that prospect hanging over your head. It could happen. If that was to go away, and Steve doesn't know I'm asking this, he didn't set me up. What if, hypothetically, he took that off the table? The back pay goes away. Just give me what's mine now. Would you be willing for that kind of compromise? Like, you don't owe him anything, and I couldn't write a $60,000, nothing close to it. I would be in debt up to my eyeballs for the better portion of the rest of my life. But if that went away, you just gave him everything right now and let him start from scratch with the viewers that the NSS still has, but you don't owe any back pay. Would that be an option?
No, because I'm confident enough that I can prove that there wasn't an agreement, and that I have conversations, the MCM, like back and forth. I have the proof, what I think is the proof, to show that I was the channel owner, I was making the decisions, and that anything that we had, in terms of payment was something that was, whatever, base. Like I tried, like I said earlier, I tried to give him the 50%, of each video that he was in at the end. But I wouldn't take that, because I feel like I can prove that that's not the case and that he can't. And so I would be willing to take that, definitely take that chance in a court. 100%.
Well, this is set up to look like someone's going to lose big, and I don't want that to happen. I want, well, you know what my sexual fantasy is now, so, and it's never going to happen.
You need to yell more, Jim.
Okay, Kyle, you disappeared. Jim Majors disappeared off the radar. Everyone was worried about him. It's turned out he had a mild myocardial infarction, and no one knew about it. And he basically almost died in his living room floor. And it was a scary time. And he showed up to our Atheist Christian Book Club in person, and we all freaked out, and we hugged him, and then we jumped in his ass for not responding. I sent out snail mail to everyone with his last name in his hometown, just on the off chance that maybe someone that was related to him could get back to us.
And there are people there, and a big, huge thanks to these people. There are, a core group of people that have continuously, when I was going through my stuff, looked out for me. Everybody reacts to different situations differently. YouTube was never anything, I don't want to say important enough, but like, it wouldn't make me go to a level where I wouldn't want to live anymore. Like no one, like I've been able to walk away just fine. Like for me, it wasn't the losing the me being, on the computer, or because if I wanted that, I could be, I get probably 6 invitations to, come on and talk to this person, that person, whatever, a week. Like I could be doing that continuously. Instead, I've done maybe 3, and that's because there's a huge part of me that feels like there are those core group of NSS viewers that I should be, at certain points, putting information out there when it's necessary or when there's an update. In this case, I've always liked you. I've always, we've always gotten along well. We had a great time in Dallas, and so I wanted to come on to show you that I'm not here to milk an apology or make you feel like you're some horrible person, because you're not. I felt this was important enough to come on and say, I fucked up, you fucked up, we all fucked up. We just admit that we fucked up, and then we kind of go on from there. So when I say my mental state was in a dark place, it's the there are levels to people that not even I thought were capable of, that or places that people go, or people bring up, or that people threaten, in whether it be your family or your friends or whatever, that to me turned me off to the fact that I just don't want to be on the internet anymore, and be talking to people who are capable of those sort of things. Like if that's what exists out there in those capacity, in any capacity, the fact that, I was getting, a couple messages a week from these people was enough for me to be like, you know what? For me, I've been depressed before. I've gone through, spells where I've had anxiety attacks, all that sort of thing. And I know now that you only get one life to live. I don't want to spend a day more than I have to unhappy or stressed out or in a dark place. And so at that point, I need to be like, you know what? I need to remove YouTube from it. It was great while it lasted. I did a lot of cool things. I met a lot of cool people. The people that watched the show, some of the best people in the world. We had some of the greatest fans, and I wouldn't trade one day of it. But at that point, when that was happening, I had to acknowledge that, I did what I needed to do. I need to move on. Like, I don't need to keep chasing after, with the show dying or whatever. That's my mark, my cue to bow out. Thank you for the time, and go do something else. I got plenty of time to do plenty of other things. And so I'm not sad about it. Like I don't have any sort of triumphant return, or I'm not interested in building my reputation like some people say whenever I come and do these shows. I acknowledge that it was a great point in my life that, we had some high times, obviously some low times, and, thanks for the ride. I enjoyed it, and I'm going to the next one.
The two things that kind of set my mind at ease is seeing your social media posts, your subsequent ones. So you have your pets, and that brings me my pets bring me a lot of joy for my PTSD. It's good therapy. So seeing you, the way that you're showcasing your dog is really, it makes me feel great. Yeah. And your newfound budding, I guess you have a new relationship, and wow, yeah. He's on there a lot. So, I mean, It must be very special for you. So seeing those two factors it affirms that Kyle's in a good place. He's going to get through this. So I think about that. I think about Steve a lot. He's under a lot of pressure himself. He's got so many fucking haters, and gosh, damn it. If I was under that kind of scrutiny, I don't know what I would do. He's handling it better, way better than I could have. That's for sure.
I do, just to comment on the relationship thing. I have been. We're going to come up on a year here soon.
Oh wow!
But the irony of that is, he himself is a Christian. You have an atheism. Yeah.
Shit.
So
see, that would make a great recurring series right there.
Sometimes we have the non sequitur show in the living room.
Now put that on camera. That's what people want to see right there. Can you imagine? Because I know other couples. One of the guys in my local atheist group, he's married to an evangelical. He's been married to her. They just hit their 50th wedding anniversary.
Yeah, you know what though? Like it's never been a thing that, like, because we made it a point at the very beginning that this was something that interests us both. We're not going to let it come in between us. Like, I respect his right to believe whatever he wants to believe. And he respects my right to not have that belief. And in turn, at dinner, we have some of the best, like, hour-long conversations, like, where some couples are just talking about, like, who got voted off The Bachelorette. We're talking about, like, original sin. And, so for me,
you do realize that you're sitting on a gold mine, Kyle. I mean, that right there would make that would be the start of an incredible channel, an ongoing series.
I had my fun in YouTube world.
Okay. All right. Sorry to plant that seed in your head, but all right.
No, I appreciate it. There's just everybody's just wired differently. I mean, there are some people who would never be able to just leave and walk away with YouTube. Like take Brett Keane, for instance. Like, his time ended like 10 years ago, but like he still continues to talk and act like he has that same original following that he had at the very beginning. And I refuse to be that person. I refuse to going back be like, Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kyle Curtis from Non-Sequitur TV. Make sure you follow my blog, Games You Love. And then, whatever about whatever stupid subject it is. So that's my model. Like, I don't want to be that. So I'm going to go out early and be like, it was fun. I might be back from time to time on, such and such. But other than that, I'm going to let y'all do your thing on YouTube world. And I'll watch. I'll be a loyal fan and subscriber and, cheerlead you from the sides. But
That's a great way to end it. I would ask you for plugs, but it looks like you have, you're in a healthy place and you've decided to kind of unplug from
I will say
the limelight.
I will say, can I plug one thing?
Yes.
I am still making music. It's free
Yes.
for anybody.
I did what? I listened to a couple of your mixes. They're really good.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Now see, I'm not fully recovered asshole yet. There's still asshole inside me. So when I clicked on the first audio, I disregarded how good it was. And my first thought was, man, Kyle should be spending more time on his court case because he's about to get fucking rocked in court. And now here he is spending all his time making music. And that's such an asshole thing to think.
You know what though? In some certain aspects that may be correct advice. In my defense though, the music has been sort of like my decompression. Like that's been my therapy. Like when you're getting in and you're putting those things together, it's sort of like a calming effect. But you can
Where can they find that?
SoundCloud.com/audionaut. That's AUDI NAUT. And it's everything's free. You don't have to pay for anything. Just go in there and listen. Tell me what you think. But that's what I'm doing on the sides. There's no face-to-face interaction. I just upload some music and then I walk away from the day. There's no arguing or debates, and life's good.
Damn it, Kyle. That's really good to hear. I'm no longer naive as I was an hour and a half ago, but I do hope for the best possible outcome for both of you.
Maybe a non-sequitur reunion like 10 years down the road. We won't count anything out.
Please. That would make my life. I'm being hyperbolic, but I mean, that would really be a fucking cool thing.
I'll go on record and say that I would come to the table on that meeting and, for the fans' sake, to give something to the fans. I don't hate Steve enough to not give the that sort of thing back to the fans. Because I think that in all honesty, the way we ended was, abrupt, and it really wasn't fair to the people that followed the show. We didn't really give the ending to the show like if we were professional as we should have been, and sort of to our audience, true to our audience as we should have been. We should have given them a last show. We should have given them something to look back on and be fine about. So I regret that. And if given the opportunity and the things, everybody was involved, I would be willing to do that for the fans because I think they deserve it.
Steve Steve never wants to see you face to face again, but he's influenced me in big ways throughout these last couple of years. And I would like to think that I've influenced him. And I'd like to think that that I could influence him in the future to maybe pull something like that off. That would be really fun.
Well, yeah.
Let's get through this. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But thank you so much for coming on. And I hope all the viewers see why I had Kyle on and can understand my motivations. So thanks so much. Thanks so much, Kyle.
Absolutely. Take care.
And